Hello everyone, my name is Vimal Raj. I'm a lecturer from GEMS Polytechnic College from the Department of Mechanical Engineering. So today we're going to discuss the classification of steel part 3. So this is from the unit ferrous metal and alloys. So the subject that we're going to see is mechanical engineering materials, that is 1625304. This is a unit number 2. So let's get into the video. The content that we're going to see today is classification of steel, that is the classification of steel, and we will be seeing about the stainless steel. So what is a stainless steel? Basically stainless steel is nothing but, in addition to chromium, stainless steels are made with alloys of silicon, nickel, carbon, nitrogen and manganese. Nitrogen, for example, improves tensile property like ductility. Nickel is added to authentic steel to improve flexibility. So this is how the steel is. So the stainless steel is from the family based of iron. So the alloys that contains a minimum approximate of 11% chromium, a composition that prevents the iron from rusting. So this stainless steel is from the family of iron based alloys. So these are the elements that is included in the stainless steel, that is carbon. It could be 0.03%, which is greater than 1%, and the nitrogen, aluminum, silicon, sulfur, titanium, nickel, copper, selenium, niobium and molybdenum. So there are some specific types of stainless steel, often designated by a three-digit number, that is 304 stainless steel. So many things are there. So stainless steel is a group of steel that contains at least 11% of chromium, exhibits extraordinary corrosion resistance due to formation of a very thin layer of chromium oxide on the surface. So the category of stainless steels that comes under is ferritic stainless steel. This is composed of alpha ferrite. Next is the martensitic stainless steel, which can be heated, and the next one is the austenitic stainless steel. So this is a phase field which is extended to a room temperature, which is mostly corrosion resistant. So these are the stainless steels. The next one is the precipitation hardening, that is a pH stainless steel, which is having a ultra high strength due to the precipitation hardening. So stainless steel's resistance to this ferric oxide formation results from the presence of chromium in the alloy, which forms a passive film and that protects the underlying material from corrosion attack and can self-heal in the presence of oxygen. So basically, if suppose any fracture or any damage has been made in the stainless steel, so basically these stainless steels can self-heal when the presence of oxygen is there. So when oxygen has been present, which can self-heal itself. So any crack, anything happens like that, it can self-heal itself. And corrosion resistance can be increased further by increasing the chromium content to the level above 11%. So in order to increase the corrosion resistance in the stainless steel, if we increase the chromium content, which is above 11%, so it can act as a corrosion resistance. And addition of 8% or higher amount of nickel and addition of molybdenum, which also improves the resistance to pitting corrosion. So pitting is another type of corrosion. So if we had additional 8% of amount of nickel or molybdenum, it can also act as a corrosion resistance for the pitting corrosion. So the addition of nitrogen also improves the resistance to pitting corrosion. So basically, if we add addition of nitrogen, so if we add extra nitrogen also, what happens is it can act as a resistance. So that what happens is it can improve the resistance for the pitting corrosion and increase the mechanical strength. So basically, the tensile strength is very important. The mechanical strength is very important for any metal or any alloys. So stainless steel has this uh, capacity wherein which it can handle more amount of stress, and because of the increased mechanical strength. So thus there are numerous grades of stainless steels with varying chromium and molybdenum contents to suit the environment. The alloy must endure. So resistance to corrosion and staining, low maintenance and familiar luster makes stainless steel an ideal material for many applications where both the strength of the steel and corrosion resistance are required. So we all know that what is stainless steel. That is, even the utensils that we use in our house, uh, we use the stainless steel, and even some rings also have the stainless steel. So these rings, these stainless steel materials and all, they will be corrosion resistance. It is away from rust. So rusting part, even if you use it in a salt water or even the salt content salt is present also, it will not be corroded, or it will not be rusted. So basically, the stainless steel has this corrosion resistance because of the chromium content which is present. So which is above, when the chromium is present above 11%, it has this corrosion resistance, and rusting also will be avoided. Moreover, stainless steels can be rolled into sheets. So even stainless steel sheets are also there, where in which it can be rolled, it can be pressed as a sheet, and plates, bars, wires, and tubing. So these can be used in cookwares, surgical instruments, major appliance. That's the reason we could see that so many cooking utensils and all, it is being made with stainless steel, and major appliance, even some appliance they have this stainless steel because it is very much good. And construction materials in large building, industrial equipments, example like paper mills, chemical plants, water treatments. So these are the other usages with the help of stainless steel. And shortage tanks and tankers for chemical and food products, the material corrosion resistance, the ease with which it can be steam cleaned and sterilized. So the absence of the need for surface coating have prompted the use of stainless steel in kitchens and food processing plants. So because the absence of the surface need, stainless steel need has been absent for the surface areas. So because of that, it is actively it has been used in the kitchens and the food processing plants. So unlike like carbon steel, stainless steel do not suffer uniform corrosion when exposed to wet environment. That's what, unless if carbon steel has been exposed with wet environment, obviously what happens is these carbon steels will rust immediately. Okay, readily, because when it's exposed to this wet condition, some wet condition in the sense if it has been continuously exposed to watery areas and all, watery substance present in that area means automatically what happens is it will cause the rusting. So rusting will happen, but unless like that, even the continuous use of uh, uh, watery substance with the stainless steel, it will not be rusted or corroded. So which is one of the good areas I would say. The next one is the most important thing is that it will not rust. So unprotected carbon steel rusts readily when exposed to a combination of air and moisture. So that's what, when the carbon content is being unexposed, it is unprotected. What happens is it automatically it will lead a way wherein which it can be rusted, which can be rusting. The resulting iron oxide surface layer is porous and fragile. In addition, as iron oxide occupies a larger volume than the original steel. The resulting iron oxide sulfur layer is porous and fragile. In addition, as iron oxide occupies a larger volume than the original steel, this layer expands and tends to flake and fall away, exposing the underlying steel to further attack. So in comparison, stainless steel contains sufficient chromium to undergo passivation, spontaneous forming a microscopical thin inert surface film of chromium. So that is how the stainless steel works, and that's the difference between the normal carbon steel and the stainless steel. So the precipitating hardness gives the ultra high hardened strength, and duplex stainless steel is nothing but ferrite and austenite. See that? Because basically it's fully shiny all over the area, so it has this wear resistance, and it has very the mechanical strength is more comparatively than the other materials. So one more point I would add is like the resistance of this stainless steel to corrosion depends upon the chemical composition of the stainless steel, chiefly the chromium content. So it is distinguished in four forms of corrosion, that is uniform, localizing, pitting, galvanic, and SCCC, stress corrosion, cracking. Position of some of the stainless steels. So basically, this is a number. There is a stainless steel number. The first model number is 409, and the UNS number for that is S40900. The composition weightage percentage is 0.08% carbon and 9.0% chromium, 1% manganese, 0.5 nickel, 0.75 titanium. So this condition is annealed. So you know what is annealing? Yes. So the mechanical properties: UTS is ferrite is 380 and YS is 205 and ductility is 20%. So typical applications could be automotive exhaust components, tanks for agriculture sprays. So basically they use this stainless steel in this kind of application, that is automotive exhaust components, tanks for the agriculture sprays. And the next model is 446, which is having a UN number of S44600, and the composition is 0.20% of carbon. So when the carbon content is increasing, ductility will be decreasing, and 25% of chromium. So which is chromium. When chromium increases, the rusting will not be there, because when chromium gives that the corrosion resistance. And 1.5 manganese annealed. So this is also annealed conditions. UTS is high, YS is 275, ductility is 20%, and the typical applications could be valves, high temperature, glass molds, combustion chambers, etc. And the next number is 304, when with the UNS number is S30400, where in which the composition weight would be for carbon is 0.08. So when the carbon content is decreasing, obviously the ductility will be increasing. Ductility is nothing but even when you deform the shape, it will not break. So that is called ductility. And 19% chromium is a high rate, because in order to have that rusting, in order to have the for that. And nickel is 9%, which is also high, and 2% of manganese. This is also annealed process. So this is a mechanical property is 515 UTS, and YS is 205, and ductility is 40%. So basically they use the typical application for this is chemical and food processing equipments, cryogenic vessels. So these are the important. So the next one is for 316L. So here the composition are 0.3 per carbon. So basically in this also the ductility will be good, and chromium is 17%. And typical application for this is welding and construction. So these are the different other materials are there, in which you could see that they use it in rifle barrels. They use this 410, and jet engine parts also they use, and this 440A, which is like cutlery, bearing, surgical tool, so many things. Surgical blades are made with a stainless steel because it should not rust, right? Because stainless steel is very when the chromium content is increasing, it has a corrosion resistance. That's the reason in surgical and all they use this stainless steel blades for better results. The application of stainless steel, if you get 25%, the application is being used with engineering, and the 10% other, and 10% tubular products, 7% other products, and 11% building and construction, 15% electro and electronics, 16% metal goods, and 16% transportation. So basically, the more number of percentage is used with engineering. So engineering has this more number of percentage. So these are the applications of stainless steel in different sectors. Next we go to the effects of alloying elements on steel. So first one is the manganese. Contribution to strength and hardness depend upon the carbon content. Increasing the manganese content decreases ductility and weldability. Manganese has significant effect on the hardenability of steel. So basically manganese contributes to strength and hardness of the steel. Phosphorus. Phosphorus is increasing the strength and hardness and decrease the ductility and not impact roughness of steel. So basically when phosphorus is added and much more concentration, what happens is the ductility will decrease. Ductility decrease is very a bad sign, I would say, because when the ductility decreases, if suppose it has been changed to any shape, what happens in any shapes, if suppose any shape has been changed, uh, it will be deformed. If any deformation happens, what happens is it will it will be it will break actually. Next one is the sulfur. So sulfur decrease ductility and notch impacts toughness, especially in the transverse direction. Weldability decreases with increasing sulfur content. Sulfur is found primarily in the form of sulfide inclusion. Silicon is one of the principal deoxidizer used in steel making. Silicon is less effective than manganese in increasing as rolled strength and hardness. In low carbon steel, silicon is generally detrimental to surface quality. That's the effect of the alloying elements on steel. Especially copper is significant amount is detrimental to hot working steels. Copper can be detrimental to surface quality. Copper is beneficial to atmospheric corrosion resistance when present in amount exceeding 0.20%. Nickel is a ferrite strengthener. Nickel does not form carbide in steel. It remains in solution in ferrite, strengthening and toughening the ferrite paste. Nickel increases the hardenability and impacts strength of the steels. So molybdenum increases the hardenability of steel. It enhances the creep strength of a low alloy steel at elevated temperatures. Basically, these elements is been added to the steel in different percentage in order to have a different physical properties and mechanical properties. So that is a reason. The effect of alloying elements on steel. So different percentage of alloyings are added for different temperatures it will be. So with this we have come to the conclusion. So today we have discussed about the types of stainless steel. So basically we focused on the stainless steel, and we also studied about the effect of the elements on the effect of alloying elements on steel. So this is a reference you could see. Thank you guys. Thank you for listening to this video. So we will cover the next topic in the next video.